According to the dictionary, a niche is an area or position that is exactly suitable for a small group of the same type. But what does this mean exactly? Over the past 100 years, different interpretations and ideas about the definition of ecological niches have been presented. In this clip, three major interpretations of the ecological niches are discussed: the Grinnellian, Eltonian and Hutchinsonian niches. We'll start with explaining the Grinnellian niche. The definition of the Grinnellian niche is a habitat where the animal lives and the behavior this animal shows in this habitat. The niche is the sum of the habitat requirements and behaviors that allow a species to persist and produce offspring, where interaction between species is not mentioned. It is purely about where animals or species can live according to their physical traits. Grinnellian niches can be defined by non-interactive or abiotic variables and environmental conditions on broad scales. As you can see here, the Grinnellian niche of the polar bear is determined by the cold temperatures in the icy or snowy flat terrain. However, because of climate change, these abiotic factors are affected. One important factor is the rising temperature, which will not only directly affect the polar bear because it's not adapted to higher temperatures, but it will also indirectly affect the polar bear by changing the landscape. These changes will create a different Grinnellian niche, one that does not fit the polar bear as well as the previous niche. The second niche interpretation is the Eltonian niche, defined in 1927 by Charles Elton. He defines it as follows: the niche of an animal means its place in the biotic environment, its relations to food and enemies. He introduces the idea that species not only live and respond to an environment and its available resources, predators and climatic conditions, but that species also have an effect on these factors as it grows. This means it is more about food change and the individual's reaction to biotic factors, just as we can see here with the red fox who stands on top of the food chain, eating mice, insects and berries. As you can see here, if we take a look at the red fox by the Eltonian niche definition, we can see that climate change has effects on its food availability. Berry bushes might dry out due to droughts and heat waves. Mice population could also become more unstable due to these droughts and not being able to feed on the ground vegetation. Insects could also become a less predictable food source due to possible mismatches between insects' emerging time and the foraging of the red fox. Instead of just looking at where a species lives or what role it plays in the ecosystem, the Hutchinsonian niche takes a more detailed and mathematical approach. He described a niche as an n-dimensional hypervolume, which means that you look at all the different environmental factors that affect a species as separate dimensions. When you put all those dimensions together, you get a multidimensional model that defines the conditions a species needs to survive, grow, and reproduce. Take this habitat for example. It is perfectly suited for the trout. It can live here with many individuals. There's enough food availability to feed the trout, and the water is oxygen rich because of the high velocity. While there are predators, for example the cormorants, the trout's population is still able to thrive in this Hutchinsonian niche. Because of climate change, many of the environmental factors are affected. For example, temperature rising causes the water quality to drop. There will be less oxygen and more acidification, leading to less available food sources. Competitive species may be able to live in the habitat now, leading to more competition for food, and the overall conclusion is that because of all these factors are linked, climate change can affect a lot of Hutchinsonian niches at the same time. The understanding of the Grinnellian, Eltonian and Hutchinsonian descriptions helps us to better understand ecological processes. These concepts describe how animals and plants interact within their environments and respond to changes in their habitats. That is why they remain useful today in ecology and in conservation.